So you guys have been asking me when I'm going to do my next anti-haul. Well, the answer is today. Not that I needed to tell you that because I'm sure you saw the title of the video. The problem I'm having right now is that there is so much makeup that I'm not going to buy that I actually have to do 2 different anti-hauls to cover everything. So today we're going to talk about all the palettes that I'm not going to buy, and then in my next anti-haul video we're going to talk about all the holiday sets. It's been ridiculous since around mid-July we started seeing Christmas releases. And I don't like intros, but I do need to tell you guys that for the month of October, you're going to see a lot of intense makeup on me because I'm going to dress up every day. If you want to see all of the costumes, make sure you follow me on Instagram. Otherwise, let's jump in. We've got a lot of palettes to talk about today. By now, I'm sure you've seen enough anti-hauls that you don't really need a disclaimer, so to make a very short one, this video is going to cover all the products that I'm not buying. I'm not even saying that a bunch of these products are going to be bad quality because I don't know, I've never tried them. I actually suspect some of them are going to be great quality. But I'm going to tell you the reasons why I'm not going to buy them. That's all this is, not me trying to sway your opinion in one way or another. Cool. So let's go ahead and start with the Too Faced Gingerbread palette. In a lot of ways, I think this is the most tempting one. I think a lot of people are going to buy this, and I get it. It seems to be a great palette from everything that I've heard, from what everybody has shown in swatches and in looks that they've been creating. It looks to be a beautiful and well-made palette. The problem is, I just don't need it. I saw a video of somebody comparing that palette to the Huda Rose Gold palette, and the similarities were way too much for me to justify buying another $49 palette. Also, that same video, I'll link it below, compared it to the Essence Spice Up Your Life palette. I don't need a third of this style of palette, not to mention I have these colors in so many other places. But again, I really don't want to come too hard for this palette because I think that in terms of the nature of what a gingerbread cookie is, that's the right color scheme. They got it. They couldn't have made this one too much more creative, and I think it's a lot of colors that a lot of people will want. I just also think that if you own 10 eyeshadow palettes, you probably already own every last one of these colors. The thing that's been so funny to me in watching people talk about this palette is how many people have made comments such as what I'm about to say, which is, I need this palette because I need the smell of gingerbread in my life around the holidays. If you're not smelling gingerbread around the holidays, I feel like you're doing something wrong. We got Walmart sells gingerbread cookies. I believe they're around $4.99. The Dollar Tree has gingerbread scented candles. I just think that's such a funny reason to purchase an eyeshadow palette, especially a $50 eyeshadow palette, is to say, I need to smell this. I need to smell these shadows that are going to go in my eyes. What is my life going to be if I don't? And I'm sure you guys have noticed this, but companies are really reaching lately with their packaging. They're making the packaging cuter and cuter and cuter. It cannot just be a tin with the name of the palette anymore. That is not good enough. It has to be adorable enough for us to want to buy it. And the reason I suspect this is because the shadows are shadows that we probably already own. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful palette. I'm just not going to spend $50 on shades that I already own. Number 2 on my list is Naked Cherry by Urban Decay. I don't think this one is out yet. I'm not going to buy it. Oh, this one is tempting. This one almost gets me because of the collect them all mentality. Up until this palette, I have purchased every one of the Naked palettes, I guess except for some of the Naked Basics. Well, one. I didn't buy Naked Basics 2. I finally started decluttering some of my Naked palettes, and that was actually a really good thing for me to break free of that mentality. I think that this idea of completing your collection is kind of a really quick way to create a sense of fulfillment in one's life. I think that's why it's so appealing. You know, you like one item, which is easy to do with Urban Decay's Naked line because there were a lot of good palettes. So you like one, you say, okay, well, I only need to buy 2 more and I've completed my collection, I'll have them all. And so you do until they come out with another one and then another one, and you have to keep buying them. And the problem that I have with this is I'm tired of the feeling of having to purchase something else. I want to purchase things because I want to buy them rather than because I'm creating some collection for, at the end of the day, no good reason. So this is going to be the palette where I'm finally breaking myself of this mentality, and honestly, it's easy for me to do with this palette because, again, it's so repetitive. And what's so funny about this, too, is didn't they just release Aphrodisiac? Is that the name of it? A palette that looks like a smaller version of this? There are so many burgundy, reddish tone eyeshadow palettes on the market right now. Here, we'll do a couple of case in points here. We got the Modern Renaissance, Lime Crime Venus 1. Yeah. All right, next palette I'm not buying is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry. Eyeshadow palette. Oh, I'm about to fall asleep looking at this palette. I don't understand this palette. Is this real? Did they sneak something fake? Oh, it's out already. What's interesting about this, other than the packaging? Oh, look, I don't mean any shade to anybody who wants this. I really don't. I think this looks like it could be nice if you don't already own Naked Smoky or any cool toned palette, but is this not Anastasia Beverly Hills, who is usually at the forefront of trends? If this is going to be the next wave of trends, then I'm taking a break from surfing. I mean, it's a neutral leaning cool eyeshadow palette. I guess what's kind of getting me a little bit peeved with this particular palette is it kind of feels like a little bit of a cash grab. We'll just throw a bunch of eyeshadows together, put it in really pretty glittery packaging, and people will buy it because, one, it's Anastasia Beverly Hills, and two, the packaging has glitter. But like, what interesting and innovative looks are you gonna make with this palette? Again, maybe it's a great beginner palette, but I'm not falling for glitter. I'm not falling for a glittery eyeshadow palette. Again, I have bought 2 glitter eyeshadow palettes, and you know what happens with that glitter? It falls apart. This is just still so weird to me. I still can't get past this because this is their holiday release, and last year we had Prism, which was a really interesting looking palette. And then the year before that we had the Mario palette, but like, this is their holiday release? Maybe this is what happens when a company releases a palette before its time. Like, I don't think that Prism was well received, not because it wasn't unique, it was unique, but because it was too unique and a lot of people didn't know what to do with it. In some ways, you could say Anastasia looked at what people wanted and made this, and if that's the case, I'm out. I'm gonna take one of my colorful eyeshadow palettes, and I'm leaving the game. Bye, y'all. I'm just kidding. I can't leave. We've still got to talk about Natasha Denona. So I'm currently looking at the new section of Sephora, and I'm really amazed at how much Natasha Denona is putting out here. So we got the Mini Star eyeshadow palette, $25. Natasha Denona is really making a lot of these new little minis, which are obviously $25 5-pan palettes. I feel like the point of this is to give people access to these huge $169 palettes. Just kind of give people a taste. And you know, you could argue, well, $25 is a lot more affordable than $169, but I just look at a lot of these and I'm like, where's the inspiration for that? I would rather spend $2 more and get one of Huda's palettes. We've got the Mini Star eyeshadow palette. This is really new. The Star eyeshadow palette is that 1 or 2 years old at this point? I think that's 2 years old. Did we ask for a mini of it? I mean, this Camel eyeshadow palette came out recently, and oh god. Great for everyday looks, I'm sure, but that's the best we got. And then for the big ones, we have the Safari All Matte eyeshadow palette, which is $129. I look at this palette and I'm like, well, I guess it would be, you know, good for accompanying any of your Stila Glitter and Glows, any type of super glittery eyeshadow that you may have, but do you really need a $129 matte eyeshadow palette for that purpose? And then this brand new one is called the Gold eyeshadow palette, which has not been released yet, but Natasha Denona, seriously, a gold-based eyeshadow palette which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 shades of gold in it. Of all of the eyeshadow colors that already exist, by far the most are brown and gold. So seriously, Natasha Denona came out with a groundbreaking, brown and gold eyeshadow palette. What bothered me the most about people freaking out so much about Natasha Denona's eyeshadow formula and how incredible it is that if you ask me, it really doesn't feel any different from a ColourPop Super Shock shadow. Or even honestly, the old L'Oreal Infallibles. You guys remember those? What do I have here? Amber Rush. Is this Amber Rush? Yep. I mean, look at that. You'd think that's all from the same eyeshadow palette, but only one of these is from a $170 eyeshadow palette. It's just... why? I get that Natasha Denona has an audience, and in general, it's people who are pretty bougie. And I get it, because honestly, I kind of used to be. But I've just hit this point where I'm like, there's so many good products at the drugstore now that if you really feel like, well, how am I going to get good gold eyeshadow palettes unless I spend this $129? You could buy a couple golds from the ColourPop website, excuse me, from Ulta now. It's an interesting world that we're living in. I talked about this a long time ago, how high-end formulas eventually make their way to the drugstore, and it has to do with the companies that actually own them, being L'Oreal and Estee Lauder, who put that high-end formula into their high-end products, and then it just trickles down. But yeah, it's so frustrating to me because it's just this situation of nobody needs to spend that, but I know people will. So anyway, I'm out. It's funny, you know, I was just watching from the Star palette, and I'm like, look at how much this right here looks like this brand new gold palette. I feel like you can get away with throwing shade at Natasha Denona, but I'm about to shade a company that you usually can't. So RIP to my like-dislike ratio the second I say this, but I also gotta throw into this video Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palettes. $53 for 4 shades, and everybody's excited because Charlotte Tilbury is new to Sephora now. I've tried a decent amount of Charlotte Tilbury's products, and I could just honestly say that I don't think anything I've tried has ever come close to being worth the price. And I'm gonna have to say that, you know, Charlotte Tilbury's audience seems to primarily be a very specific type of person. Maybe I will leave it unnamed. Y'all can figure it out if you so desire. But basically someone that looks like Charlotte Tilbury herself. And that's what I don't understand. How do you sell these kind of low pigmentation, extremely tiny little eyeshadow palettes for $53? This makes Natasha Denona look like a saint. This makes Natasha Denona look like she is so generous in giving us so much eyeshadow product. I have one more palette to add to this video that I was kind of contemplating putting in the holiday sets, but I don't think this is a holiday set, so let's get it over with in this video. This is the e.l.f. Modern Metals palette. There is one good reason why I'm not buying this little $10 eyeshadow palette, which I am quite sure is most likely very good quality. I'm currently wearing e.l.f. I'm wearing the Opposites Attract palette, which is incredible. Introducing Modern Metals, the collection inspired by New Orleans. Don't try me like that. Don't try me, e.l.f. I made way more of a New Orleans look today, not even intentionally, but probably because I live here with your little palette that you already released. What is this? And don't think I didn't stare at this palette for a good 20 to 30 minutes trying to decide what could be New Orleans about this. I vaguely see the LSU on one end. Good for you. That's Baton Rouge. Next to Gators colors, it's University of Florida. And then we've got some shimmery, soft metals. It's like you've never been to New Orleans. Let me tell you my hypothesis, my guess as to what happened with this palette. I think that somebody came to New Orleans for e.l.f. and said, all right, e.l.f., we're gonna make you a really good New Orleans-based palette, but you gotta send us to the city, pay for our stay, we'll travel the city and we'll figure it all out. And then they got too distracted by Bourbon Street and didn't do their work properly. You think I haven't seen this a million times? We have a ton of tourists that come here and think that they're gonna have so much fun, they're gonna drink a hurricane, and they're gonna accomplish all of this long list of things they plan to do in the city, and you know how much they actually accomplish? Yeah, nothing. That's my conclusion, is our designer of this palette got themselves wasted in New Orleans, ended up leaving and said, oh crap, now I remember nothing about my visit to New Orleans. Let's just throw a palette together and hopefully the world won't notice. Yeah, well, all of us in New Orleans have noticed. I refuse to buy this palette on principle. I am not doing it. It looks nothing like the city of New Orleans. We've got either bright colors or you could have done a palette of entirely grays if you laid in the grass and looked at the sky, because I'm not gonna lie, the sky is really gray here. It's really gray. We got some gray bridges, gray broken streets, but don't let that detract from you coming here. It's a beautiful city and it's very fun and it looks way more interesting than this palette. I'm so insulted. Alright guys, so that is my anti-haul of the palettes that I'm not going to be buying. Let me know in the comments below if you have experience with any of these, if you have purchased them, and if you are happy, because as always, this is just my opinion and I really don't want to influence anybody to not buy something you're interested in. I'm sure that these products work for some people. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next anti-haul, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, YouTube.